Hey guys, so today we're going to do a little astrology chart reading for Dolores O'Riordan. She was the lead singer of the Cranberries. You might know her by her popular songs Dreams and Zombie and Linger. All right, so we are going to go to her birth chart here. First thing I see with Dolores is that she's got a few symbols coming through in the actual physical representation of her chart angles. So I see a kite. I see some sort of star. If you can't see it, there's this star right here. Now you can look at it this way where the star point down, or you can look at it as at a side angle, like this being the point up. Okay. We also have a pretty straight 90-degree angle here. And there's also like another half here. Stars, stardom. There's destiny. There's dreams coming through. A very dreamy person. There's also a cross. Lots of burden. Maybe some sacrifice or pain that's gone into this, in this life. Coming in with a lot of pain or burdens as well. I see the rising high. Stars are high in the sky. A kite goes up high. And it's kind of like the kite lets you, you go where the wind takes you pretty much. And she kind of, although I'm sure she had some direction in life for sure, she had a destiny that like kind of carried her off, Excuse me. All right, so she's a Capricorn rising. Her ascendant is Capricorn, another way of saying it, looking at it. She had other people would first notice that she was pretty dependable. Maybe not with everything, but she came through as being somebody who had a structure or some kind of regimented approach to life. She was also a teacher, so I'm not sure, like Capricorn risings, usually they teach others things. They have knowledge of things, and especially in terms of the material world. Or maybe she was kind of teaching people through her own actions in life. Being a role model kind of comes up with this kind of placement. Other people see you as a leader, okay? Others might see you as being kind of restricted in some way as well, whether that be physically or maybe just being more reserved, okay? She might have been pretty, kind of had a traditional approach to how she portrayed herself in the world. There were some things that were kind of restricting about how she moved about in her life at some point or another. Or maybe just she felt restricted by the pressures of other people seeing her in the world. I see that her sun is in Virgo, okay? She actually was born today, September 6th, but 1971, okay? So she has a very meticulous, perfectionist kind of energy to her. She had this ability to really magnify every detail and get really nitpicky about things. She could have been a clean freak. She could have been somebody who was very, very picky about how things were done in a day-to-day sense, in the work she does sense. Also, her father, because in tropical astrology, a lot of the time we look to the sun for the father. Her father was a farmer, and Virgo is the sign of agriculture. and harvest. Okay, it's the wheat that we kind of harvest. So her being born in a time of harvest, her father being a farmer, that's represented there. She had a lot of love for the father. Venus being so close, she was also very meticulous about how she might have presented herself or looked, being Capricorn rising, having Venus here in this house. Also, the sun is placed in Virgo, but we have here, where's Jupiter? Jupiter is in Scorpio. Here we go. It's at an anaretic degree almost because it's so close to the 0 mark. It's of Sagittarius, I think. So it's at an intense degree. In Vedic astrology, we look to the sign of Jupiter as the husband, or sometimes I even look to it as the father. So there being some sort of kind of cataclysmic thing with the father. I want to say that I just did research on her. I don't know, I'll be honest, I don't know much about Dolores other than I loved her music. She had a kind of troubling childhood. It wasn't that she wasn't loved, maybe more so of just trauma that was experienced during her growing up years or her personal life years. Her father ended up having a traumatic brain injury, and Scorpio being the house of accidents and suffering and kind of death and rebirth and great change, and just being kind of like that darker house. There is, I feel like that's a good representation of like her father struggling with health because of some kind of accident of some kind. So now we are going to look at the childhood itself. Like the 4th house is Gemini. And so we've got Capricorn, 1st house, 2nd house, Aquarius, 3rd house, Pisces, 4th house, Aries. Okay, so we've got here the moon and Chiron. Okay, so there could have been a great deal of healing that had to come within the childhood. There was some sort of trauma within childhood that needed to be healed. Could have very well been her father. I don't know exactly what year he passed. I don't know how old she was when he did pass, or that he had some trauma to his brain. The mother's values were instilled very young. There could have been a need to heal the relationship with the mother at some point. Also, the mother, from what I just read, she worked with kids catering for a school system. So in the 2nd house is the resources, is the intake, right? It's what we need. And that food comes into that place. The 4th house is the food that we receive for the mother, or the childhood, the nurturing that comes early on in life. But the 2nd house is our values and what we need, and kind of like a more survival kind of thing. So the mother was a cook for a school system. And so that I see there, the mother being in the 2nd house of food. And so that's what she did for a living. And it's opposite Libra in the 10th. So the 10th house is a career. The mother's career was to service people or serve kids food. Okay. There is this very interesting kind of dichotomy that kind of happened with her. She is pretty reserved. She's kind of more of a wallflower here. I see this as being more of a wallflower. Um, Pretty meticulous, but also Virgos like to be on the outskirts looking in and analyzing everything in this placement with the sun. So there was this pretty massive, great change we see here with Jupiter really right between Scorpio and Sag. Scorpio is change, metamorphosis, and Sag is expansion and the public. I feel it like there's like also kind of like the forward philosophies. There's some kind of push out with this energy. Neptune being here as well. There's so close to Jupiter. There is this entertainment thing with Neptune. Neptune is illusion. It's like performance, performance arts. It's that which is etheric being brought down, okay? And you would have to make it into something, right? So there's this etheric like expansion to her where there's this entertainment aspect that is being blown up. So there's like this popularity that's being blown up as well, because the 11th house of Sag, right, or this is, excuse me, Sag is the 12th, okay? But Jupiter is in the 11th in Scorpio. The Scorpio is kind of other people as well. Not so much the same as Aquarius, other people like in terms of a humanitarian aspect, but because it falls in the humanitarian house, the house of forward future, the innovation, with the entertainment aspect of Neptune and Jupiter, the great change would come with an artistic expression, which would be really popularized, being so close to the 0 degree mark here with Jupiter. Let's see where Jupiter is. Yeah, so it's literally almost at 0 degrees of Sag. It's still in Scorpio. Yeah. Nope, Virgo. No, I'm right. Anyway, so yeah, so Jupiter being so close to Sagittarius, but still in Scorpio, there was this kind of darkness, the darkness of Scorpio being kind of expanded, so, and expressed through Neptune. So like there's this like any kind of darkness that she had to deal with, she did express herself through her art form, okay? She also was very spiritual in terms of she liked to find herself around people who were probably very spiritual. There's a deep spiritual belief here, and philosophy. And I know she was raised Roman Catholic and grew up around that, so I'm not sure if she continued on with that, but there might have been some major influence in the intimate relationships that she had. She valued intimacy and the studies of spirituality or some kind of philosophies of that kind of nature. She might have been very, very spiritual herself, okay? I see that Lilith being in Libra, there's a charming kind of siren quality to how she's seen out in the world. And she did have a very hauntingly beautiful voice. So, and her music had a dark kind of element to it. There was there was some sort of humanitarian kind of expression to it in some degree, which we're finding here, because I know zombie is actually about world events of some kind of war, some kind of refugee kind of thing. So I'm not 100% on that, but you guys, if you look it up, there's something about zombie, the song, that's resonating with this. The hauntingly beautiful, super charming to other people as well. Independent woman coming through in terms of how she was seen by others out in the world. What else is going on here? Saturn in the 4th house of Gemini. She liked routines within her own household. I feel like work and play was kind of probably hard for her to balance, maybe, because she probably loved what she did for a living, and so work-life balance probably wasn't easy for her. Also, Gemini being a very fun and very intellectual sign, and Capricorn, or sorry, Saturn being the planet of restriction and boundaries and kind of authority. This can be taken a couple different ways. I would see it as like being the authority of some kind of, she was the authority of her own domain in terms of her home life. She might have been the breadwinner. Probably was, because she was very well known, you know, she was famous. So also 7th house is, let's go back here. I had a whole bunch of notes and I'm not even looking at them. I'm just looking at this. So, yep. So Sun in Virgo, Moon in the 2nd house. She had this innovative quality to her, kind of an ingenious way of emotionally expressing herself. Her moon was in Aries, so she's very self-regulating. I feel like she might have been a little bit impatient, but very passionate, slightly impulsive with this type of combination. She could have been emotionally defensive. She might have not liked criticism very well. She might have known how to reserve herself in front of others because of a Capricorn ascendant, but she might have been pretty sensitive to other people. She wore her heart on her sleeve is what I wrote here. So it might have been hard for her to reserve how she was really feeling about something, even though she would hold back or feel restricted in how she expressed herself. When you're in the public eye, I mean, that's probably a normal thing, right? You can't really be exactly how you want to be all the time because you've got a lot of pressure. And Saturn is totally the pressure planet. So we've got Saturn in the 1st house. We've got Saturn in the 5th house. Oh, it's in the 4th, it says here, but it's going into the 5th. Very strict upbringing as well. You know, her parents didn't play around. Like, you know, it's probably a very strict household. There were rules. It also could have been just because she had to grow up pretty fast. People with Saturn in the 4th, we grow up pretty fast. There's always something in childhood that's pretty tough that we have to deal with. And you would have to, you know, kind of evolve faster than the rest of us usually have to. There is let's see. Mars in Aquarius. Mars in Aquarius. So that being still within the first house, I feel like she was probably the leader of the band, right? She was the leader of the band. So leader of groups, a leader of humanitarian efforts. I'm not sure if she had any philanthropy that she did in her lifetime, but she was a forward thinker, and she might have been very opinionated about her forward thinking. So that's not bad. She was a woman ahead of her time. Or in her time, because we are kind of in that era of like moving forward here, making big changes in the world. So yeah, she was driven to make big changes in the world. Maybe she might have felt like more of a wallflower, but that was definitely not her destiny. Her destiny was to be seen by others, to be heard by others as well. Song comes in with Libra. There's something haunting about her, kind of her song. It's with Lilith there. There's a darkness to it, and her music was kind of edgy, right? It was forward moving for its time. So she also, I don't know if she wrote her own music, but I can see her being a very, very good writer, because she's got Virgo sun. And I always see that as Virgo placements as being very good writers. Let's see. Anything else I can see? I'm running low on my battery here, so I just want to make sure I get this before it dies. Pisces in the 6th. Sometimes these are more confusing than me just writing them out. Like, let's go here. Okay. Here we go. Mercury was in Leo. Mercury is how we talk, our speaking, our singing, you know, words, how we think, and very expressive there. So that's a singer's kind of placement, Mercury and Leo, for sure. Very popular with her words. A lot of people are hearing her words. Very expressive. Venus in Virgo, again, very beautiful, kind of. There's also meticulousness with money and resources here. There's also perfection and beauty here. Very Empress energy here. Venus and Virgo, I just see that as the Empress. Mars and Aquarius. Could have been somebody, yeah, passionate and driven about humanity, human involved issues. Could have been seen probably as maybe aggressive within the friend group sometimes. But yeah, I see that as a passionate drive for future forward thinking. Aquarius is a very future forward thinking sign. Jupiter in Scorpio. There is an expansion of kind of the depth. So going deep, philosophies that are deep, learning about the darker aspects of life, and we knew that she did that from an early age, dealing with death and you know, just, you know, and troubles very early on. There's also, because Scorpio is like more of like a malefic house, right? So, and Jupiter is actually beneficial, kind of they're like polar opposites, right? So there's this push and pull. Like whatever bad things happen in her life, she kind of gains wisdom from that and expanded outward from whatever happened to her. She was restricted in her expression in some way, but could build upon her thoughts very well. That's another writer, Saturn and Gemini. Like I feel like that's a very writer kind of Sun in Virgo, Saturn and Gemini. In the fourth, yeah, play was restricted in the early childhood. There was a lot of responsibility that was put on her. Mentally, also feeling pretty restricted. That could have been her mental expression. Probably was kind of hindered by, you know, having to go through so much so young. Uranus and Libra. People see you as a trendsetter out in the world. So innovative in thought and how you are with others. So very spontaneous out in the world, but for the people. There's a lot of service here as well, because being Lilith in Libra, there's a charming, seductive, haunting siren type thing, but there's also this sudden being suddenly pushed out there in the world and seen by other people, and being in service to other people. Lilith is also, I associate her with servitude as well. It's kind of like your shadow's service to the world. Whether you're going to serve the world in a good way or a bad way is totally up to you. But it's almost like that independence, and then Uranus being there as well as being very independent. Just a very independent thinker, and maybe a little bit taboo in her thoughts. Others might have seen her as being a bit taboo or a bit nuance for her time out, especially in her career. She was seen as like somebody who was a trendsetter. Neptune and Sagittarius, yeah, spiritual philosophies. Also, this Sagittarius being like the world, so art of the world. There's world travel for art is here. Pluto and Virgo. Pluto being, yeah, we know that her father was a farmer and he passed, right? So that's there. Pluto is great change, death, and transformation. The first house of Aries is the head. She had trauma to her head, I believe. I'm not 100% certain. But there was some kind of, and also it's has to do with addictions and substances and anything to do with that. And Virgo being the health. So there could have been some struggles with addictions and substances, or there's also a transformation of the health. So that could have some significance. I'm not sure. But there's like being in the first house, the house of the head, and Virgo being the sign of, also, she could have had stomach issues because Virgo is a very nervous sign. It's has a lot of anxiety, so she could have found herself having some kind of sickness from stage fright as well, at some points of her life. Let's see, Leo. Leo would be the stage, right? Where's Leo at? She's got Mercury, yep. So the stage, communicating on a stage, singing on a stage. So Mercury and Leo, that's perfect for her. Lilith and Libra again. The charmingness, the shadow side, kind of being seen by others in the world, and there's like a balance and harmony, a service for others. Seduction as well. She's a very pretty lady. North Node in Aquarius, where we're going. We're going towards human causes. We're going towards future forward thinking and helping the world, doing something for the world. I'm not sure again what her involvement. I'm sure that they did do some kind of philanthropy of some kind, the Cranberries, or her personally. She might have found it to be her purpose in life to help other people. Sun in the 7th house. Yeah, so even her ascendant lands in the 7th house. So she's very much focused on other people, or other people played a very important role in her, in who she was. Father could have played a very important role in who she was. Mother in the 2nd, values coming from the mother. Very psychic also, because the moon in Taurus. Emotionally, she felt things very strongly. She was more reserved because of her Capricorn and her Virgo, but that doesn't mean that she didn't feel things very strongly. She was very emotionally in tune with other people's needs as well, and emotional value. She saw the emotional value in others and herself, and other things in her life. Communication, 5th, 6th, 7th, Mercury in the 7th. Jupiter in the 10th, obviously, like a great expansion in career. Or Jupiter in the MC, excuse me, just destined to grow, to build outward. She's very lucky, benevolent. Her career was very lucky for her. Saturn in the 4th, restriction during childhood. Not an easy kind of childhood to go through, for sure. Saturn in the 4th, people, we just have like usually a lot of childhood baggage or trauma that happens. Uranus in the 8th, sudden psychic downloads, sudden inspiration, or sudden like deep dives into the subconscious as well. Neptune in the MC, being known for artistry. Pluto in the 8th, very, very psychic generation. Valuing the depths, getting underneath the muck and the grime to get to the core of something. The treasure hunter. She was about finding the hidden depths, just like a lot of us are of that generation. Lilith in the 8th, very witchy kind of vibes. She was like an earth goddessy kind of lady. She had like this Lilith in the Scorpionic energy is very, very dark and mysterious as well, and independent. Maybe she came off as a little taboo to others because of how independent and forward thinking she was. North Node in the ascendant. North Node. I will say this as a final. She was, her person was destined. So like who she was enough. She just being who she was in this world, and that was her destiny to move forward. And being the North Node in Capricorn, she was destined to build something for herself. And Capricorn being the 10th house of career, destined to build a career. And with Jupiter there in the 10th house of the MC, just very blessed in terms of that. And a lot of hard work went into that. But she did the work. You know, she was supposed to do the work. It was all there in her chart, you know. Meticulous about her presentation, kind of expressing herself as a woman might have been some challenging at times. Sun trine the ascendant. Just very expressive. Very expressive, or the way she expressed herself was taken well by other people a lot of the time. Moon trine Jupiter. Maybe blessings from the mother's side. Emotions that are, she was a very emotional person. She might have had great emotions that helped her kind of expand outward. We know that her songs were pretty touched on, people could register very well with them emotionally, a lot of them. That's why she was so famous and popular and such a great singer. Moon sextile Saturn. Her mother taught her some very powerful lessons and structure. She had support from the mother and was helped with making the boundaries. So that she set up emotional boundaries. She was very good with emotional boundaries and you know, setting those. And yep, Moon opposite Uranus. Her emotions might have seemed kind of sporadic or uncontrollable at times, so she had to really kind of rein them in probably at times of her life. Moon trine Neptune. Moon trine Neptune. Ooh, very psychic. Very psychic. Also, nurturing an art form, talent at an art form. Power struggles with the mother, or maybe power struggles with her emotions as well. She was probably emotionally torn at parts of her life. Moon opposite Lilith. That probably had something to do with her being pulled by her service to others and also her own emotional needs. Mercury squared Jupiter. She had big ideas that she wanted to convey out to others, and her big ideas are what led her to great success and benevolence in her life. Mercury square Neptune. This would have to do with how she did it, and she did it in a way that was artistic. And she did Mercury square the MC as she did it for a career. Venus trine the ascendant. Very seen beautiful by others. Just, yeah, very radiated. Her essence was very beautiful and graceful, and people were taken by her, seen as beautiful in the physical form. And yep. So Mars trine Saturn, driven to build. She was goal oriented, very driven. Mars trine Uranus, and sometimes her spontaneity and kind of maybe almost over exertive energy, her high energy might have been sporadic in nature, but it ended up working out for her. It's like almost sudden luck with actions that are taken. Mars trine Lilith, being aggressively independent, forged her way in life. She was maybe feared by some as well, because she was so powerful. There's a very powerful combination. Powerful woman, independent. Mars conjunct the North Node, moving in her divine purpose. Maybe she struggled with that for a little while, but it was a destined thing for her. Jupiter opposite Saturn. There's just, she might have felt restricted by this abundance at one point or another in her life. Jupiter conjunct Neptune. Spirituality, her ideas or her philosophies being put into an artistic context. She was very much tried to do that. Jupiter sextile Pluto. An expansion of the dark side of her life. Also, it's a sextile, so I think it's like a softening of that. It's like wisdom from any kind of power that she received. She handled her power well, and she might have been wise about any power that she gained in this lifetime and how she handled it. She might have learned from having power as well. Jupiter conjunct the MC, great benevolence or expansion within our status out in the world, or how we're seen by others out in the world in terms of what we do for others, our service to the world. Saturn trine Uranus. Any kind of restrictions or kind of struggles that she had ended up being kind of helping her innovation and her ideas. Gave her great spontaneous ideas or epiphanies. There's this tradition that also there's a creating of new traditions here as well. She started a trend, so I see that as being very like very balancing on the scales of like tradition versus breaking tradition or nuance. Saturn opposite Neptune. She might have struggled to keep things, there's like a struggle to keep things down to earth. There's a push and pull between the etheric realm and the tangible material resources. So there's grounding that was needed. And 555, just a lot of changes in regards to that. A lot of maybe conflict in her life kind of stemmed from her inability to keep her feet on the ground while her head is in the clouds, because she was a creator, you know. Saturn trine Pluto. Authority that creates and helps power in some sort of way. So she was a leader. and a very powerful one within her industry. Saturn trine Lilith. There was restriction involved in her career out in the world, but she seemed to enjoy the servitude, enjoy the kind of energy that she had to put out to others. Whatever burdens that came from this ended up, she still, they were lucky in some kind of regard, or they came easy to her. So she got over them easily if there were struggles, so that's good. Also, being an authority or somebody that's seen as an authority on something that is a woman is also seen there. Saturn trine the North Node. Restrictions in getting to where we're going are eased up by this aspect, I would think. So she kind of knew her purpose, and whatever kind of what is it? Discipline. Whatever discipline, she knew she had to be disciplined to get where she was going, and because she had the discipline, she got where she was going. Uranus in conjunction with Lilith. Innovative, of the shadow side, a push and pull between wanting to make change in the world, being the rebel. This is a very rebellious combination, a rebellious woman. It might have gotten her a little bit of trouble in her childhood, and it might have gotten her a little bit in trouble in her career at one point or another, but she seemed to be well loved by everybody, so that doesn't really matter. It kind of flavors her independent woman vibes. She was a free thinker. A free thinker that was her kind of part of her purpose, was to convey her new concepts and ideas and bring them out into the world, and to maybe move forward the world in some kind of direction with her participation in that. Neptune sextile Pluto. She was really deep, and she was very artistic, and she might have been helped by any of the struggles in her life or her career, because she was so artistic, that like helped fuel her in terms of being more artistic and being more in depth. She had more depth to her because she was so able to see it from a spiritual perspective, any of her struggles. Also, a dissolvement of power. She didn't take it very seriously, and I think that's why it helped her out in a lot of ways. Neptune conjunct the MC. Artisan out in the world, doing the art form for the world. Pluto sextile the MC. Great change, transformation in the career, power within the career. There's other people's resources within that come to you easily because of what you do in the world as well. Part of fortune is in Leo, so fortunate things came to her because of her expression and her art form and her entertainment. You know, she was involved in the entertainment industry, expressing herself, the stage, you know, people watching her give her performances. South Node in Leo. And also, that wasn't the most important part of what she was doing, and she knew that. She kind of was trying to find the meaning, the greater meaning in all of it. And so she could move forward to her North Node from her South Node. So the fame was just the beginning. And then whatever she did with that fame, you know, changing the lives of many people through any kind of work that she did with other people, or just making other people's lives better because she had the power to do so, because she had a career in the public eye, expressing herself. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if it was so shaky. Yeah, let me know if you like these. I'll try to keep doing them. And Dolores was like a really cool person, it looks like. I always loved her music. Sad to see that she's gone now. But today's her birthday, so happy birthday, Dolores, and hope you all have a great September 6th, or had one, because it's coming out pretty late. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.